Hey guys, welcome to the Canada Puck Podcast, your weekly, and we are weekly right now, look at that, recap what's going on in the world of sports, specifically hockey, and even more specifically, Canada. I'm your co-host, Mick. You can find me on Twitter at ProfitMick, and I'm joined every episode by my lovely and talented co-host,
Grant, on Twitter at Fourth Line Sports. I know it was burning the midnight oil last night, but can you believe that we're basically down to one series? One series left before the conference finals.
Oh, it flew. Like, we were doing our second round. We talked about the second round even just last week, right? We only missed it by just a couple days to start it. It just absolutely flies. Lots of the games. I think the schedule seemed a bit more condensed, actually. Every other day there was games. There wasn't the longer delays. Outside of, I guess, this Vancouver-Edmonton series, it did start obnoxiously long. But had they started it earlier, you could have a Game 7 on Hockey Night in Canada. NHL, what were you thinking?
Yeah, I'd love to take the opportunity to shit on Gary Bettman and his ineffective scheduling squad, but I feel like there's lots to talk about. And I got to ask this, too, because we're going to get into this.
Yep.
But have you noticed this trend of away teams winning this postseason?
Yeah, home ice advantage has been kind of shattered, right? You can even go back to opening round, right? Vegas was up 2-0 against the Stars. Looked like they were going to be this juggernaut. The Stars, sucks, they're a good team, but they're going to fall short because of this. And then things kind of balance out, right? So even from the first round, right? Yeah, home ice advantage. I don't know why it's gone away, right? I've heard some various people kind of mention it and discuss it, and no one's kind of given me an exact thing. Or maybe it just doesn't matter anymore with travel and rest and like the amount of they're not back in the day where these guys are flying coach, right? And they're catching planes. They're on private jets and they've got the leg room and they have the so maybe those things don't matter anymore. I don't know.
12-2 over the last, I don't know, what is that, since the start of the week or so.
Okay.
That's crazy. That's just an absurd fact. Like, to think that home teams have lost 12 times out of the last 14 games kind of disproves any notion of home ice being an actual thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Maybe it's a concerning trend for Oilers fans. I will say that much.
Yeah, I guess you're on the road tonight, so you hope the trend continues, and then I hope it flips, and you hope you're just not caught in like that regression, eh?
Well, Oilers are hosting.
Oh, they're home tonight. Oh, okay, so
a bad omen.
Okay,
because it's
I like
13,
that.
but
No,
it's 13-2.
that's
No?
perfect. I want to be on that side of it. Oh, 100%. Like, if I'm the Edmonton Oilers right now, and I'm looking, and I've got like a 13-2, regression to the mean happens. Probably should be closer to 50-50, so that the probability of us. Oh, I love that. That's great.
All right. Well, I hope for
I mean,
my
I'm also like
well-being.
the most optimistic. Like, I don't care if the Oilers things blow up and they're trading guys this offseason. I'm like, meh. So like my emotional ties are just like maybe the results, like the odds of tonight's game. Yeah, you're gonna talk for a second. I have a whining dog. I'm gonna go put outside or something. Sorry.
All right. So it's kind of this is a soliloquy maybe everybody deserves. We can shut Mick up for a little bit, but this postseason has been a bettor's paradise. We've been rife with upsets basically since, well, in correlation with the home teams being displaying as poorly on a home ice as they have. Bettors have done a great job, or at least could have been doing a great job, of cashing on the underdog train. The other thing that I think that is worth mentioning, we've seen a stunning amount of low-scoring games, which basically, the further we get into the postseason, the more probable it becomes that we're going to get these low-scoring games. This trend's kind of reversed in the opening round. So specifically, when you're looking at teams in the opening round who are facing elimination, that's when it's kind of everything goes full send, anything to stay competitive, and then we see the high-scoring games, and that eventually tapers off by the time we get to the second and third round. And I think that that's the bridge that we're crossing right now. Mixed back, I was just sharing the relationship between low-scoring games as the further we get into the postseason,
Sure.
And it looks like we're already there.
Cool. Are you good? Because we could restart.
No, I'm good.
All right, just dog sitting. So the dog was annoying me, and I have like noise canceling headphones in, so I'm sure that was great for the start of the recording. But cool. Other than that, series by series breakdowns, I guess, is what we're looking at right now. We've got 3 series wrapped up, 1 Canadian one to go through. So kind of backpedal, I guess, through the series, talk about the finals, or at least the conference finals, and get everyone set up at the plan?
Sure. You want to start on the east side?
I think so. And from when we started last week, it was 3-0 for the Rangers, right? In 6 games. I have that written down in my prediction. Rangers in 6.
So this one was one that completely caught me off guard. And it didn't even catch me off guard once, and I was like, oh shit, what a M. Night Shyamalan turn. It caught me off guard time after time after time. From the outset of the Rangers basically dominating early, and then going up 3-0, and then Carolina somehow making a comeback. And then all of this was encapsulated in one game, in Game 6, Carolina on home ice, where they're up 3-1 going into the third period, and you fucking blow it. And I was like, you know what? That is the most fitting end to this series, because I couldn't believe every step of this. And then to get to this stage where it's just like, yeah, guess what? This was going to happen. Sure. We should have seen this coming. We should have known that this was going to blow up in the Hurricanes' face.
And big dominant performance from Igor Sherskin. I think he had something like 16 saves in the third in that Game 6, as well as Chris Kreider. Natural high trick in the third period to lock in the advancement for the Rangers, right? Big step up, big play from that kind of homegrown talent from the Rangers there. And, yeah, dominating performance, right? I did see, I think at some point, like, Hurricanes power play went dead, and they were playing a good goalie, and all of a sudden all this talent they had just couldn't overcome the odds. And I was like, man, heard a lot about Rod Brindamore being a sick coach. I'd love for him to come to Toronto and bring that kind of truculence, you know, that inability to get your power play going in the playoffs, get goalied in a round. Sounds awesome.
So
I'm glad the Leafs hired a different guy.
Wait, the Leafs already hired their guy?
Yeah, they got Berube yesterday.
Man, I guess I should turn my phone on every once in a while. Craig Berube, man, that totally messes with this tangent that I was going to take us on as a Leafs fan. Rod Brindamore, then, let's talk about him. He has underachieved in Carolina year after year after year, and yeah, I'm not going to say that you and I are, the epitome of the hockey fan or hockey world, but we've been high on them for years. We've expected big things from them for years, and I think that's reflected in the betting prices, because perennially they're near the top of the board. And even more concerningly, I don't think they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals once over the last at least 3 years. I think it's been longer, and that's been their only trip basically over the last 20 years. Yep. Where do Carolina Hurricanes fans get off letting their coaches off the hook this easily? And it's like this was the Colorado conversation we had last week. What the fuck? This guy would be absolutely crucified in Canada, but because it's a small market Carolina team, he just gets by with this underwhelming playoff record.
Yeah, certainly. Now, there is something to be said, too, about, I don't know, when you have to look at overall structures and, like, overreact. If they had someone, like a Carey Price, this generational talent, this guy who's bigger than life, this larger. If Freddie Anderson, who's kind of mid, he was terrible in Toronto. He hasn't been good in the big performances. And I think we kind of see that time and time again, right? Some of the goals he was letting in Game 6 of an elimination game, right, in the second round of the playoffs, I was like, yeah, it seems like a Freddie Anderson kind of style goal, right? Like, he's the one that's going to let those slip by. And sometimes you just live and die by your goalie, right? I mean, is it as simple as we just look at who are some of the better goalies in the league? Igor Sherskin, Bobrovsky, right? Dallas guy, whatever.
Jake Ottinger.
I was gonna sound really smart, and then I forgot about Jake Ottinger through his name. So right, but we're looking at potentially 3 of the best goalies in the league, right? And that's, I don't know, maybe goalies are back. Maybe we should have some goalies on our team. I don't want to make it as simple as that, but who started for the Hurricanes in net this postseason, right? I think they had like 2 or 3 guys, and they were struggling, and they were so it wasn't as simple as they were just like the better team on paper. I think it was a flawed product, right?
Fair. Maybe their regular season. So this is kind of the baseball model, maybe. What you see in the baseball, teams that compete in the regular season are not the teams that compete in the postseason. And the example I will give you is the Rays. The Rays are built to last a 162-game schedule and be competitive game after game after game. They are not engineered to be this dominant postseason force. So maybe the Hurricanes are the Tampa Bay Rays equivalent, where it's just, guess what? We are going to be better than you like 7 out of 10 times in the regular season. But when it comes to the postseason, you're going to beat us with grit, with goaltending, with better systems, blah, 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 blah.
And like if we're doing a post-mortem here on the Hurricanes, before we kind of get maybe to the advancement of the Rangers, they have built several numbers of RFAs, UFAs coming up, right? So we're going to see a little bit of changeover potentially in this Hurricanes roster coming forward, right? I don't think they're going to be able to keep everyone. And the nature of this team too, similar to Winnipeg, draft well, bring in assets, keep guys for cheaper contracts, right? Move off the bigger things, we're not the big markets. It works to a certain extent, but at some point you need to have a GM somewhere in the organization that has some chutzpah that makes the all-in move, right? That gets you over the hump, right? That maybe gets that Pectorangelo, trades for a Mark Stone or something like that, right? These big swings we see from like the Vegases or something like that. Potentially they needed that. Yeah, they did that with Gunsel this year. A little too late, right? Jake Gunsel had a pretty good performance in his time in Carolina, but obviously it wasn't enough. Right, so it's that balance, right? Team building isn't just accrue all the assets; it's know how to get the top guys, right trades, right signings, and I just think they never got over that hump, right? Like they seemed like they were kind of in the past, right? Like Brent Burns is playing on this team. Brent Burns, in my mind, hasn't been a relevant hockey player in 5 years, right? So it's just the nature of, I think, part of the construction of this team. And potentially you've seen it run the course, though, of this Hurricanes team. So I'm interested to just watch them this offseason and how do they go forward.
I agree. What comes next for the Hurricanes? Tens of fans are going to be in line waiting with bated breath to see what happens. But the most telling sign will be once this playoff season comes to whenever the Stanley Cup is awarded and the 2025 Futures Board is announced, I will be interested to see where the Hurricanes land.
Certainly. And the Rangers advancing. Rangers are kind of a homegrown squad, right? Acquired some talent through trades, developed, grown, and now we're seeing them getting to go up against the Panthers, right? So I guess we could jump ahead before we talk to that series. So the Florida beat Boston just like we thought they were. I don't know. Am I sad that the Leafs lost to the Bruins? After watching that series, just seeing how physical the Panthers were, how kind of beat up, defeated, how kind of pathetic the Bruins limped into the next round. They probably weren't getting through Florida. Florida was probably the rightful king anyways of the Atlantic Division, right? So kind of expecting that. Better squad, just healthier, and Boston kind of lived to the side. I don't think Brad Marchand played in the final 3 games because he was hurt or something. His stomach was hurt. What a fucking loser. We should make sure to mention that Brad Marchand is soft and a loser and doesn't deserve like any money because he was hurt in a couple playoff games. But apparently, only Warriors play in the postseason. So Brad Marchand, what a fucking loser.
All right, I'll let you have this moment. Because that was obviously one of the things I wanted to talk about. Have you seen all the angles that Sam Bennett hit on Brad Marchand?
No, I just watched the one in slow motion a few times, and that's all I had. Huh?
Okay, so up until I had seen this reverse angle, I had wholeheartedly believed with you. I was like, this guy is just fucking laying it on thick, and he's the exact opposite of what he was preaching about and shat on everybody about for years.
Yep.
But this reverse angle offered kind of a more telling look, and specifically Sam Bennett, and whether it was intentional or not is inconsequential, but Sam Bennett's fist gets Brad Marchand basically right on the lights out button, like right underneath the jawbone. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, I've seen, and I immediately transported me back to like end of Chuck Liddell days, where we rarely talk about UFC, but when Chuck Liddell was coming to an end in UFC and he just kept getting punched like right here and he would just fucking collapse, that's what it kind of reminded me of. I was like, okay, well, I know that it's not the same amount of force, but I know it's also a troublesome spot, so maybe it was a concussion, maybe there's something going on here. That's not to say that Brad Marchand did not deserve this, because he 100% did.
Yeah, there's a couple guys in the league that, like, is that a dirty play? 9,999 times out of 100,000. Sure. Want a Brad Marchand? Nah. Like him and Kadri, like, they're such fucking greaseballs in my mind. You can just do whatever the fuck you want to those guys, and the referees almost just be like, good, great. I'm glad that justice is being enacted, right? So, yeah. You can do whatever the fuck you want to Brad Marchand, little bitch.
And this is what I was going to say. Sometimes the universe has a funny way of balancing itself out. And this, I think, sadly, is one of those moments.
For sure. I think we both actually had Florida in 6 in our predictions. So kudos to us both on that accord. So we kind of were dialed in. We knew that Boston wasn't going to be the easiest out, right? They had some grit. They had some toughness, right? If you go down the lineup of who better players are, Boston was right there. But depth-wise and just overall kind of intensity kind of built for the playoffs, I think they were lacking, and that's what we thought. So Florida, Rangers, Eastern Conference Finals. That's kind of seems not so flary. Do you have a prediction? What do you think's going to happen in this one?
So the one thing I wanted to say, the Rangers, I feel like the Rangers are the team of destiny. Analytically, the Florida Panthers are the superior team, kind of by a wide margin. But the way, really it boils down to a number of factors. The way Shesterkin is playing, I would trust that guy. He is the goalie. I think I said this last week. He is the goalie that takes his team further than they deserve to go this year because, like, not that the Rangers are getting outplayed, but they're not this juggernaut offensive analytics team that's going to beat you with shots, possession, chances. They're going to buy their time. They're opportunistic. They rely on special team scoring. And those aren't typically characteristics of Stanley Cup winning teams, but I seeing how easily they have made it this far in the postseason, and I know the same could be said for Florida. To me, it just feels like the Rangers are going to be the Eastern Conference representatives.
Yeah, sure. That just overall health, quality of team, right? You could say, oh, Florida, they bring the bodies, but I'm like, I don't know, like, I've seen Jacob Trouba fucking almost kill a guy. Guys are literally diving to avoid Jacob Trouba hits. And they got Matt Rempe running around, right? Like, give me Trouba and Rempe versus anyone pound for pound on the Panthers. And I'm like, I think we got us a series, right? So, definitely more high-end skill with the Rangers, right? They maybe don't have the grit up front. But, like, I don't know, because of Benajak, he seems like kind of a little bit of a greaseball guy that wants to go into, like, the tough areas and kind of make your life a little hell. And, like, Chris Kreider, he's got that cool little goatee.
Chris Kreider has endeared himself to Rangers Nation for now and eternity in perpetuity. Like, that game, that third period performance on top of everything else he's done for this franchise over the last decade, like, this guy, I would be surprised if the Rangers don't honor him in some way, shape, or form at the end of his career.
And the Rangers going from Mike Gardner to Henrik Lundqvist to now Shesterkin, who has looked phenomenal for years, right? Top notch. Yeah, Bobrovsky is an elite player, but outside of the last couple seasons, I used to make fun of the $10.5 million that Florida pays that goalie. I was like, 8 years. They signed up for 8 years of this, guys. What the fuck? Yeah, no, it's like come due a little bit in the last couple seasons. Oh, okay, I can understand, but like. I don't know. He was bad there for a little while, Florida. Maybe it was a function of your team not being that good, right? But I think pound for pound, probably a coin toss in that. Maybe even Shurkin looks a little hotter, right? He's maybe not as tough competition, right? But like he's playing just as well, so it's good. I will take the Rangers in this series. Also, tinfoil hat if there was ever like I don't know, is there a big market in the States in New York? People live there, right? Like if there was ever a time to be like, hey guys, maybe a team should win. Because sometimes I think that might happen. Original 6 team New York over some team in Florida where like no one really cares or watches or like provides money to the league. Maybe the refs get some calls one way or the other. Maybe we see Madison Square Garden fill up. And the Knicks are playing good too. Oh man, James Dolan is fucking killing it right now. Being a fucking douchebag. Good for him.
So one thing, the benchmark for me is always price of beer. Like, how greasy of an owner are you based off your price of beer? I remember, 17 years ago, a beer was $12, and at that time, that was like, I can't even imagine what a playoff beer costs at MSG these days. Over under $20. What do you think? For a foam glass, like a full, plastic pint glass of draft beer.
Yeah, $18.99. I could, yeah.
All right, I'm gonna see if I can find this quickly, but I'm gonna go the way that I'm taking this a step further. I don't think that it's particularly close, and you alluded to this, but Bobrovsky historically is not a good postseason goalie, and we saw this run out last year in the Stanley Cup Finals. I don't know if they think that they can ride him a little further this year, but I actually think the opposite's going to happen. This fucking contrarian perspective just Anyways, Rangers in 5. I'm calling it right now.
Woo. All right, I was gonna go. I like a little bit more heat. I'm gonna take 6. I think just Florida might be harder to kill. They're gonna have like that Michael Myers thing going on. So keep that rolling. I did really well. Like as soon as the Oilers can win this series, I know they can't win in 6. I'm just dialed in. I was like 100% almost outside of like a game or 2 off in that series. Yeah, had I flipped Dallas winning in 6 and Edmonton in 7, I would have been almost 100%, assuming again Oilers win the next 2. Speaking of the Dallas Stars, they wrapped up and they beat Canada Puck's least like Colorado. Like that's just so satisfying when that team that you despise and you decide this is the team you hate, right? I decided I was like, Florida's winning. I'm not going to get too bent out of shape. New York, I guess I could kind of cheer for the Rangers. Let's go. I want to see a big city team win something for once in hockey, right? Like let's. Colorado, we talked about this last. Like they're so unlikable. The most unlikable group of guys I've seen in a while, right? Like Nathan McKinnon is just. I don't know if it's like he's anti-charismatic. What is that? What's the opposite of a charisma? Because he's got tons of it. Douchebaggery?
I was gonna say that's a deeply philosophical question. What is the opposite? Douchebaggery's got to be up there.
Right? Annoyance? Is it annoyance? I guess, yeah. Because if you're like someone's charisma, you're like, oh, you're just not annoying. So is charisma just the like absence of annoyingness?
Again, I feels like we're like I don't know a pound of mushrooms away from solving this problem. But you're right. And what you're getting at is exactly what made me so joyous when I woke up and looked at my phone and I saw, guess what? The Stars prevailed in double OT.
All right. So according to the Google, the opposite of the charisma would be repulsion, impotence, and incapacitance. So the impotence of the Avalanche. Repulsion works better.
No, I like impotence, man. If we could fucking loop impotence into any time we talk about Nathan McKinnon, my life would be complete.
Perfect. So the impotence, he just doesn't get you aroused at all. Awesome, cool. Was stoked, really, really thought after that Game 5 performance, where Dallas just stopped playing, gave McCarr an open look in the slots, like just absolutely just annihilated the Stars. It was like, oh, it's going 7. This is so annoying. We're going to have this annoying Colorado. This impotence of McKinnon's going to keep going. But guess what, guys? We don't have that. We have all of the Jake Ottinger arousal on this team. Was I going to say someone else? But I was like, I don't know if I know another Dallas Star. At least like a deep cut, like a Rupe Hintz. Oh, Rupe Hintz. If that doesn't get you hard, nothing will.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask this. Do you enjoy watching the Dallas Stars in the playoffs?
No.
Neither do I, man. Like this, and that's the part that fucking the impotence of the Dallas Stars, if we may, is that it's kind of boring hockey to watch. Like they grind it out, slow it down, dump, battle, back and forth. Like I'm surprised the game was only double overtime, but especially on the road, Dallas would have been happy still playing right now and just having fucking Jamie Benn skate against the puck in the corner for an entire overtime period while people try to dig it free. Like that's the Dallas Stars playoff hockey, and it works. I'm not saying it doesn't work because obviously it works, but I miss the excitement that we're kind of getting in the Eastern Conference from the Western Conference teams.
Sure. Yeah. It's just a different style. It's not as attractive, right? Now, granted, with that, I'm like a 9 o'clock weekday bedtime kind of guy, right? So when a game starts at 8:30, I'm like, nah, this is like a check out some Twitter highlights in the morning kind of thing, right? I'm not staying up late, so I anything West Coast, I'm always like, I don't really watch anything past 9 o'clock because I'm sleeping. I love sleeping. It's great, so I recommend it.
Yeah, filthy habit you picked up growing up, just falling asleep at a reasonable hour.
Yeah, that's too bad. So, but they do advance to the Western Conference Finals. It should be a good a matchup for the winner of the last series that we have, which is Vancouver-Edmonton, a barn burner of a little Western Conference matchup. We have the shitty fans of the Edmonton Oilers versus even the shittier fans of the Vancouver Canucks. And really, who's a shit off, right? It's just going to be the poopiest fans who are going to have just like the worst smear campaign against you online, and they're trying hard. They're raining trash down after penalty calls.
Oh my God, just making it rain beer cans. When I was in that moment, my first word is out of, can Vancouverites afford that? Because stadium beer is not cheap. Tickets are not cheap. Living in Vancouver is not cheap. And here they are dumping thousands of dollars of beer on the ice over what was clearly a charge.
I kind of feel like if you live in downtown Vancouver, you definitely can afford to throw a $30 beer on the ice. Like, you're like, what is this? 47 seconds of work? I don't know what that person does specifically. Maybe an art dealer or something. They seem kind of like cultured a little bit, right? So, but
Faux cultured, we'll say, yes. But yeah, so anytime for the internet's, for the internet's pleasure, anytime somebody leaves their feet during a hit, it's automatically a charge.
yeah.
And when I saw this, in the moment, I was like, why is that a charge? They showed the replay. Oh, he was 6 inches off the ground. Like, he left his feet. Even on a reverse hit, that's still a charge.
Yeah, I did see the outcry, and it was also that. And then, yeah, just any reasonable person on Twitter was like, no, here's the rule. And then you see, whatever, there was some replay kind of down the ice. And I'm like, sure, cool. Interference, right, also could have worked, I think, in that case, on that Pettersson hit from the last game, right? But we'll see. Let's see if the Oilers can come back and, like, out shit the other fans tonight. So
Yeah,
I don't know, Edmonton. We could do something. Maybe turn some cars over when you win.
just like one way or another.
Beat up a Winnipeg Jets fan, like some kid wearing a Jets jersey. Just have a bunch of grown men kicking some Winnipeg Jets kids. Like, fuck you! Oh yeah, you think Nick Healy's is good? You're pissing blood, you fucking idiot. I'm 12.
Oh man. Yeah, so I hope we don't see that. But one way or another, a city's getting a riot. I don't know if it's Edmonton. I don't know if it's Vancouver. But sadly, both of those cities deserve the same outcome. And let it burn. No one's going to be upset about it.
Cool, awesome. I guess we get to wait and see, right? Hopefully, at least we get a Canadian team in the Western Conference Finals, right? So that's pretty exciting. Although the Oilers have had an appearance here and there, right? So can they get over the hump this year? Potentially. Previews. Okay, let's do a little future casting here. So Edmonton or Vancouver wins tonight. They're playing Dallas starting sometime this week. Predictions for that series. Does the Vancouver Canucks, a little team that could with their buddy Slavis, do they have a chance against the Dallas Stars?
I think both teams, I don't want to say stack up well against the Stars, but both of them have the antidote to knock off the Stars.
Yeah.
And can you score more than 3 goals in a postseason game? Guess what? You have what it takes. Granted, 5-on-5 scoring hasn't been exceptional, really, for either team.
Mm-hmm.
But with the skill and the depth that both teams possess, obviously, I think depth scoring-wise, Edmonton's getting a little bit more production top to bottom. So if it's Vancouver, I would say you are going to need to milk home ice advantage for everything that it is worth, because you're not going to get ideal playoff matchups on the road. And, Connor Garland, can he be the guy? Maybe. Am I betting on it? Definitely not. So I could see Edmonton being closer to a pick'em in that series, whereas Vancouver, I think, would be more decided underdogs.
Yeah, that there you go. That's actually pretty good analysis, because I would have provided similar outcomes, similar picks. So I agree. We'll see what happens tonight. Hockey Night in Canada, 6 o'clock. And I'm guessing it's not on CBC Gem, right? We're just going to go on a conclusion that they're probably not streaming this game.
No. And that's okay, because I'm going to stream illegally, and go ahead and try and stop me. NHL, I've told you this twice, and you've done nothing about it, so fuck you.
Yeah, it's such an odd...
Cowards.
Yeah, basically. Well, also, just bring some more attention to your app. What's the worst that happens? A bunch of people download your apps and watch, like, Schitt's Creek?
I mean, low-key underrated show.
There's a couple of them, right? Like Kim's Convenience. I haven't watched that one. Mr. D. I don't know if that one's still kicking around on your app. We're like, there's some quality little Canadian shows. There you go. Get some more attention. Maybe put something else on there other than these shows that have been off the air for like 5 years. I don't know. All right, so legally streaming tonight's game or at your local bar. this evening if you don't have cable. So let's get into it. We only have one game. We like to do a little bit of gambling. I think I went 0-4 last week. I'm down about $50 this postseason. Grant, did you hit your wager?
I think I hit an overtime game. Let me look back here. What did I say was going to happen? No. Man, I don't even know what I had last week. That was so long ago. It was $100 parlay, and I got it wrong. So
okay. So Grant, you're up about $74. We bet $100 on each episode. Grant's up 74. I'm down 50. So about a game, a wager off. So 74, 50. I have minus 50. One game tonight. What's gonna happen?
I got 2 plays. What do you got?
I'm gonna do 1.
All right, I'll lead off then. I'm not feeling exceptionally proud of this pick,
Okay.
but with a limited market, I am looking at the anytime goal scorer propositions. Sorry, just clicking around here. All right, anytime goal scorer. This one shocked me a little bit. Leon Draisaitl is kind of a postseason darling, at least in my eyes. He's been not in a giving nature, but he doesn't have to be in the spotlight. Anyways, I like Leon Draisaitl a lot in the postseason, especially at home. The Oilers are going to have some power plays. They're going to be fired up, and he's plus money to score. And that was the part that tipped me over the edge, because I was like, Hyman, Draisaitl, McDavid. Draisaitl's easily the more my preferred option as an anytime goal scorer. Hyman's minus money, so I was like, okay, Leon Draisaitl plus 110, $50 to win 55.
Okay. I'm just gonna. Am I gonna steal your thunder when I tell you that I'm gonna put all $100? I want overtime. Hockey Night Canada, nothing else going on. CBC Gem. Oh boy, the downloads are off the chart. All 45,000 Canadians have downloaded it, and they're sitting around their little campfire stoves watching it tonight on the long weekend. Especially out in the mountains, camping, drinking, starting forest fires, riding your ATVs around, sparking. Oh, it's gonna be absolutely just wonderful. We're great creatures. All $100 plus $335 to win $435 overtime for tonight's game.
All right, I'm going another Leon Draisaitl deep cut here. So the player to record the most shots on goal. The 3 Oilers that I just mentioned are at top of the board. So Hyman, McDavid, Draisaitl. Draisaitl is the lowest of the 3. He's plus 500. So to me, that's worth the investment. I'm going to bet another $50 on Leon Draisaitl to lead the scoring to win 250. Sorry, not scoring, lead shots for $250.
50. And what was his goal?
His goal is plus 110.
Plus 110, so 50 to win 105? Or 110?
Yeah, so I would walk away with 105.
Perfect. Okay. Done. All right. Awesome. Well, when there's only one game, it makes for a past part of a podcast, I guess. So.
We did what we could with what was given to us, and here we are, better because of it. And our more importantly, our listeners are better because of it. But I'm just seeing here, and this was news when I clicked back onto the screen, apparently the Eastern Conference schedule has been announced because there's a lineup for the Eastern Conference final already.
Oh, I see.
So it looks like...
Yeah, I thought I saw them scheduled when I was clicking around on NHL.com here. I can actually pull that up. You could do scores, and let's pull the schedule, so anyone watching on YouTube could follow along with the bouncing ball.
Minus 115 Rangers game 1 favorites over the Florida Panthers. This is the more telling line. Over is set at 5.5 with the under juice to minus 120. Just a reflection as I was soliloquying away while you were dealing with puppy issues. Low scoring games. Bettors are expecting them. Sports books are expecting them.
Yeah.
Everybody's expecting low scoring games.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, like I said, at this point, both teams fairly solid defensively. They have some offensive talent, right? But then between the pipes, we're going to have a bit more of a battle. So, cool. Interesting.
That was reminiscent of the Sum 41 era, and I'm going to say this because this was a half hour of power. We covered a lot of ground with a whole bunch of stuff in a limited amount of time. Good for us.
Yeah, no, that was good. Yeah, I was going to say, we both had somewhere to go. I was like, we have to be fast today, and maybe we just always try and be fast. They're taking this damn time.
Yeah, but with little else to talk about, I will say this: the Canada Puck podcast would not be the Canada Puck podcast without our Babe of the Week. That was way too much work. I stumbled over that too much. But I'm going back to, this is actually a nice tie-in to the Babe of last week, Olivia Knowles. This week's Babe, I actually came across thanks to Olivia Knowles. And that is, I think they were teammates at Harvard, in Minnesota. Lauren Bench, and Lauren, Lauren _bench, like the thing you sit on, is our Babe of the Week. And Lauren Bench can sit on me anytime she likes.
Ooh.
Goalie, Montreal, Minnesota, I can't remember, something like that. Wherever it was she ended up or is currently playing, good for you. That city's lucky to have you. Lauren Bench, you are our Babe of the Week. Schwing.
Excellent. Look at Grant Segway Jones getting us right off the podcast train. I was like, man, we got lots of time. What else is going on in hockey? I was steering the other way. I saw the exit and I was like, I like this scenic road. Let's continue. Cool. So with that, that wraps up the podcast. We'll be back next week. Hopefully we can keep talking about at least a Canadian team. If the hockey gods are true and just, we could talk maybe a little Oilers. If we live in a unrighteous world, we could spend like weeks talking about just Vancouver Canucks hockey on this podcast, which might be, and I'm going to hold Grant to it. I'm not going to skip on this one. He has to. I don't care. I don't care what comes into his life. I'm going to make him every week talk about the Oilers or the Canucks for like 30 minutes.
Man, I'm concerned that the universe has used up its justice on Brad Marchand, and now I'm left to soak the brunt of it. But we'll see. We will see.
Well, let's hope you're a little bit less douchey than the Marchands of the world, so that the hockey gods don't like directly focus on you. I know one big reason why maybe the Canucks fans shouldn't have nice things, so we'll see how balance works.
God, I'm not excited. I am not excited.
No, not at all. Okay. But with that, guys, we'll be back probably next week. We'll at least recap. Worst case, we'll post-mortem on like the Oilers and maybe call it for the season.
Unless we want to turn this into a year-round podcast about shitting about the Canucks.
Yeah, that might just be it. We're going to do everyone a disservice and just sign off for the year and say, see you guys, even if the Canucks, maybe if the Canucks win, we'll pop back up and like have little banners or something, have a bottle, we should each have to drink a bottle of champagne and talk and say nice things about the Canucks.
Okay, deal. Tell you what, if Vancouver wins, this will be our sign-off next week. We will bring champagne, we will get drunk as hell on a Saturday morning, and we will say nice things about the Vancouver Canucks for an entire podcast, and that will be it.
Oh, this is gonna good old baby duck. All right, well, the baby duck show. We'll see if we have a baby duck show next week. So, good luck, Oilers. If not, well, we're gonna have fun next weekend. So,
one way or another, this is ending in a gentle explosion.
Yep.
So,
awesome. Till then, I think we say. Party on, Grant.
Party on, Mick. We'll see everybody next week.